It's now time for Bookmark. Now, this is the part of the show where I highlight a fantastic book that's been released. And this week I'm joined by the wonderful Bill Browder, following his explosive international bestseller, fabulous book, Freezing Order. He had that fabulous book. This book, honestly, I'm reading it now. It's amazing. It reminds me of, I don't know whether you've ever read some of the Sidney Sheldon books, Master of the Game, this sort of spy thriller type stories, but this is a true story. It chronicles how Vladimir Putin became the number one enemy how he became Vladimir Putin's number one enemy by exposing Putin's campaign to steal and launder hundreds of billions of dollars and kill anyone who stands in his way. And I'm very pleased to say that Bill joins me in the studio. Bill, thank you so much for joining me.
Great to be here.
Well, Bill, listen, I heard you doing an interview somewhere else, and I thought, you know what, I have to talk to you. Fascinating stuff. So give us some idea of your background and how you came to be even in Vladimir Putin's radar.
Well, I have a very unusual background. Originally from America, My grandfather was the head of the American Communist Party. I rebelled against my family and put on a suit and tie and became a capitalist. And when the Berlin Wall came down, I went to Russia and I set up this investment fund. I gathered a bunch of capital from the West, invested in Russia, and then I discovered that all the oligarchs were stealing all the money. And so I started protesting the stealing and the corruption, and they were all partners with Putin, and I was expelled from the country. My offices were raided. I had a young lawyer named Sergei Magnitsky. He investigated the crime and exposed it, and he was subsequently arrested, tortured for 358 days, and killed.
He was quite young as well.
He was 37 years old. And since his murder, I've made it my life's work to go after the people who killed him and make them face justice. And for the last 12 years, that's what I've been doing. It's culminated in something called the Magnitsky Act, which freezes the assets and bans the visas of people who do this type of thing, including the people that killed Sergei Magnitsky. And the Magnitsky Act exists in the United States, here in the UK, in the EU, in Canada, and Australia, and other countries. And this is the template that's now being used to freeze the assets of the oligarchs. And Vladimir Putin is very mad.
Wow. Have you ever actually met Vladimir Putin?
I've never met Vladimir Putin, but I've been in a sort of head-to-head fight with him for the last 12 years. He's been chasing me around the world with death threats, with kidnapping threats. They've tried using Interpol 8 times to have me arrested.
Really?
I was even arrested in Madrid, Spain, a couple of years ago. He's a very vindictive man. He never wants anybody to humiliate him, and he was very humiliated by what I've done.
Well, the book is, honestly, it's gripping, and it's a true story. This is the thing. You said that you know, obviously he's been trying to threaten you and going through every single way to try and get hold of you. Have you ever been in a situation where he's actually managed, because he's been poisoning people and everything? I've
never been poisoned. I think the way what his perfect scenario, if he could have it, is to get me on an Interpol warrant. You know, I'll be traveling somewhere in Germany or France or something like that. Get me on Interpol, extradite me back to Russia, torture me in prison so I make some kind of false confession to say that all of my allegations for the last 12 years were untrue, and then feed me something in prison so I die a slow death over a 6 or 9 month period. That's his, and a plausibly deniable death. That's his perfect scenario. Very, very odd man, really, in a way. Almost like he doesn't value life at all. In my analysis, if you were to look at the physician's desk reference of different diagnoses, and you look at his characteristics, he's a psychopath. He's a man who doesn't have any empathy, no conscience, no respect of rules, and he only cares about himself and his own well-being and survival. And I think that that's what everything is about. In fact, this war is just about that. Well, I haven't got to the end of the book, so don't spoil it for me, but I don't think you will anyway. Do you think there's any chance? Because obviously, as we know, some of the oligarchs are dying now. I think there's been 7 so far that have been killed. I think they've been killed, although there's been a different story. Towards the end of the book, what happens? I can't help it. I couldn't help it. Cut to the chase. The punchline is I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm alive. I'm standing up. I continue to speak out. I continue to call out Putin's corruption. And hopefully people listen in governments around the world. I've been calling for these sanctions. They're starting to sanction these people. The oligarchs hold Putin's money. We've sanctioned about 35 of them so far. There's 118. So in total, a lot more to go. And we got to stop, as you were saying before, we got to stop buying their oil and gas. Every day we send them $1 billion. and every day it costs $1 billion for them to kill Ukrainians with their invasion. We got to stop that, and it's not our responsibility. It's Germany, Italy, Austria, those countries, but we have a role to play here as well. And if we can starve Putin dry of all this money, so he just doesn't have the money to kill people, that will be the end of him.
Well, Bill, your fabulous book, Freezing Order. Before you go, can you just sign it for me, please? Nana, 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 AKUA.
It would be my pleasure.
That's Bill Browder. His fabulous book, Freezing Order, the ultimate thriller, but it's actually a true story. Thank you so much, Bill, for joining me. It's such a pleasure to meet you. Thank you.